John, Claire, hey,
Hi.
congratulations on this
Thank
film. Take my hand.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, long journey, and we're
Here we are.
finally at this pointy end, so we're pretty happy.
We are.
We're pretty happy.
I bet this is a pretty long journey. Any film is a long journey, and final cut is an accomplishment by itself. But let's first talk about is where the original story came from, because we always hear that it's based off a true story. So let's talk about this story for the film first before we get into the real story.
Sure. So obviously it came from our lives. Claire and I had been sort of separated for 22 years, and we were actually in real life just friends. When we got back together and sort of reconnected, there was so much that happened in both our lives in the 20 years each. And we thought it would be a good idea for a book. And then we had a publisher lined up in Australia, but then he wanted to buy the story off us. And then I thought, well, let's take the next step. So we turned it into a screenplay, and that took sort of 4 years. So, and it was just based off our life, and it was quite, the first few scripts were sort of 100% true, and it took a while to take that creative license, and then we eventually did to, change things about a bit.
So tell us about you say that a lot of it's true. I guess Claire, that this is the part of mainly your life you did actually move across. I was going to say across the pond, but it's actually on the other side of the world, and all of this actually happened, and you were married, and disaster struck, and I feel like it's just a string of bad luck.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I say that MS, husband died, and then I had a bit of cancer to birth nothing. But it was a lot of bad luck, and a lot of bad things happened. But I found John. We found each other again. So things worked out in the end. Thank God.
So
John,
yeah, go ahead.
One thing I was going to say. So in real life, what actually happened was Claire was working and in England and didn't have kids yet, and she was 28. And then diagnosed at 28, and then let go. And then she went on medication for a while to get off the medication to have the children. So that's the order of how it actually happened. And then her husband sold his company for a lot of money, sort of early mid-2000s. And then the stress of that and of Claire having her third child brought on all Claire's worst attacks, and the worst symptoms she'd ever had came around that time, and then Mark died. So that's the order of how it actually happened, and then she did come back to Australia after that. So
and met you.
And re-met me.
Yes, yeah. That's very true. That's true.
I love real life romances. Claire, how do you feel about your story being told onto screen like this?
Yeah, it's very confronting, very surreal, but also very satisfying, because it's been a pretty big story, big life, and being on the screen now is it's cathartic. It's just sharing my story with the world is actually it's quite a good feeling in a bizarre way. So it's been very emotional and a lot of tears, but also very it's been good. Sharing the story has been good for my disease, I think, too.
Thanks for showing people what she actually went through.
Yeah.
In that time, and especially people in Australia that hadn't seen Claire for a long time, and then all of a sudden she's back here telling a story in Australia. But it's just, she went through a lot, and hard to show everything in 90 minutes, but we did our best.
We jammed it in. Yes, we tried.
John, how do you craft such a story, especially the part that you're supposed to be a part of this story too at the same time?
Well, I think for a long time we had in the script it read John and Claire as the two lead actors, and with about 6 months to go before we're getting close to the shoot, the producer and I decided to take those names out. I had to distance myself from the script. And so we did that, and it was the best thing that happened. You're able to then create a character that is not me. In some ways, and the same thing with Laura. Things changed with Laura, as in we were going to show young Laura up till the age of sort of mid-30s, and then
An old Laura.
have an older Laura. And but Rada came along, and you know, you got to adjust things to the actor's age, and we thought, well, let's start her at that powerful point in her 40s, and we get rid of that 20 years between when they were young and dating. So, but it had me, to answer your question, I think, you know, the actors bring a lot to the page as well each day. I mean, depending who you cast is, and we had Greg Apps did a great job casting the young Michael, and you know, I don't mind if the actors bring something to the set that day. How about we try this, we try that? I don't mind, as long as they try what I want first. And then I gave them a little bit of license to give me everything they had, and they did that.
Most excellent. Tell us about the challenges of you know, directing a film like this, and you could correct me if I'm wrong if you actually you know, filmed it in Australia, and I'm not sure if you actually filmed parts of it in London itself.
We did. We shot 39 days in Australia around the coast where we live here not here because we're in LA now, in Byron Bay in Australia, and then we shot 4 days in the UK, just all that exterior, just to get a bit of the feel of the streets and that busy, hustling sort of pace that Claire was going through in London, and that stressful environment she was in that wasn't good for her condition.
Not for MS.
All that sort of stuff exacerbates MS.
It does.
Claire, tell us about you know, living with the disease of MS and how important it is to have this correctly portrayed in this film.
The disease to live with, MS is a hard disease to have. It's no other way to put it. It's a very hard disease to live with. It's hidden away because a lot of it's invisible. You don't see a lot of the symptoms I suffer from. You don't see it all. But some things people have a lot of pain, a lot of emotion, a lot of other issues that go on with their lives. It's just hard to deal with. In terms of portraying on the film, I think we did a good job. It's hard to even, some of the symptoms are so difficult to portray because they're so hidden away. So you can't show pain, you can't show confusion, you can't show brain fog. There are things you can't put clearly on the film. We tried our best, but we're not sure we got on there. But we tried our best.
Now, of course, you know, casting the right person to portray this character is very paramount. Talk about Rada, you know, being the perfect casting for this role.
Oh, I think we looked at a few other people, but I think Rada sort of brought that screen presence. That she's got those beautiful blue eyes to start with. It's very easy to all those scenes that had to bring a lot of emotion to the scene. She's very schooled in how to put that forward in those scenes, and I didn't have to try that hard. You just push a button with Rada, and then that came out of her. She was very, very willing to sort of try anything in scenes, and yeah, she's pretty fearless. So that was, you know, that slap she throws in, that was all her, not me. So she made that scene pop. I think, you know, and just she spent some time with Claire. How do I show these symptoms, and how do I walk, and tell me about your job. And so she was very keen to learn about all facets of Claire's life when she was in a powerful position, and also when she was in a vulnerable position when her MS symptoms were bad. And so I think she did a great job.
Claire, could you comment a little bit about you know, Rada learning from you?
I think that she spends time with me. Just my speech is a bit odd and my walking is a bit odd. So you had to sort of see me and spend time walking around with me and just talk to me. And she and I talked quite a lot and spent time just her learning my issues and my things I can't do very well. So she saw the things that I struggle with, and she I think she took on board little things like picking up a glass or picking up a plate or things are a bit harder for me. So she saw that. So she had to learn on the go how things worked for me.
I think that the dysarthria, which is the speech dysfunction that MS patients have, she sort of some have. So she sort of took a little bit from what she'd seen online with Selma Blair, with her struggles with the disease, and Claire, and she just sort of mixed it up between the two and then delivered it from that. So that wasn't easy, but that's how she sort of formed that, especially after the big crash in England when her husband dies and her symptoms take a turn for the worst. That's when everything, her walking suffers and her speech, and I think she did a pretty good job. That wasn't easy.
No, it's not.
John, I was going to say, John, when you work with a veteran actress like Rada herself, does it seem like you just let it go and let her direct herself, or there still needs a little guidance in its own way?
Oh, I always need little guidance, but at least I had someone like that going into set. I could be confident that we were going to get it done in that day. But she took a little bit of license herself at times, and sometimes you got to try and keep up with her. Sometimes you got to check her because I am the director. But she, no, she's sweet and lovely, and she was just wanting to do the right thing by the project. So, we worked pretty well together, and we met while she was doing her makeup in the morning. I went into the trailer sort of 27 days in a row, and we discussed the day, and we got it done. So it was just got to stay close with each other. And we, when Adam arrived in Australia to do his sort of 10-day part, we went over to Rada's place, and just the three of us just went through the scenes. It was very, very laid back and casual, and he's an easy guy to work with. So that was the easy part. The hard part was all the yelling and screaming in the London scenes, and trying to get those visual effects working for the symptoms of MS. And the horses, of course, they weren't easy to shoot with sometimes. As beautiful as it looks, it was hard work.
So how was your overall experience directing, since this is your feature film directorial debut?
Well, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to take a little bit of time out the rest of this year to do a couple of other things, get back to the writing room, I guess. But look, I think that, I enjoyed it. You have so much help around you. You have your first ADs, and you have your script supervisors, DPs. You have a little team of 4 that, plus your actors, and I had Claire right behind me the whole time. So you got a lot of support. There's 200-300 people that made this film, and you need them. You really do. You just can't do any of these things by yourself. But I'd love to do it again for sure.
Most excellent. Since Take My Hand is about to release, and such a great romantic story behind this, and especially for you two. So what is going to be the next chapter for the both of you?
Sleep a little bit.
Sleep a little bit. Go back to our horses. We've only just bought a farm the last 3 or 4 months, so go back to that and just ride more and just settle down a bit. We've travelled with 2 3/4 years of travelling, and
it's a lot,
and stress and all this, but it's been for a good cause, and we've said all along, any money we make past $1, we're going to put back to MS research. So Claire's going to start a podcast and just talk to fellow MS patients every week. So something that she's been wanting to do for a while. So we'll focus on that.
That is terrific to hear. And Claire, I really appreciate you talking about this. I know MS is a very tough subject to talk about, but real fast, how often do you still ride horses, and what's your love for horses?
I still ride horses 3 times a week. I with my horse every day when I brush him and get him sorted out. They're very important to me still. I'm not as good as I was, because my illness is not weaker than I was before. There's a true comment there. It's not as strong as it was before. But
we have someone to help us.
Yeah, I have a person help me buy horses.
We have someone that lives on the farm. Actually, the girl that played the horse Stunty in the film that you see in some of the wide shots in the first scene, she actually lives with us.
She's a really good horse.
So she lives on her own part of the property, and she has sort of a liberty training business, and she's amazing, and she helps both of us, and Claire a lot.
Yeah,
we're very lucky to have her with us.
We are.
Most excellent. Well, to the both of you, thank you very much for speaking about the film. Take My Hand. It's a lovely romantic film, and Claire, I do have to admire that you still are active, and more active than a lot of us who don't even have the disease. So it's very just,
I think
so
you do.
Do what you
thank
can. Do what you can.
that
Thanks,
is
Gig. Nice meeting